Uh, Jaglin, Josh is asking if you can pull up the video for that. You got it ready to
With
go?
no
He
audio,
wants
though.
you to turn the audio off, though.
I'll do it.
Okay.
All right, I'll do it live.
Okay.
But let me introduce the topic first.
Go ahead and just tell her when to play.
The overall segment 4. Introduce overall segment 4.
Yeah. Segment 4. This is what this is our question of the night, which is what unplanned features would you like to see added to StarCitizen? And we'll turn it over to Josh for him to talk about his first, and then we'll tear it apart. Go ahead.
Yeah. and to be clear, it's not a tech feature or a tech development. This is something you want in game. And the two things that I want, number one is I want a targeting pod with the ability to lock and zoom air to ground and air to air, as well as some kind of forward-looking radar. And if Jacqueline can pull up this video, I'm going to attempt to do some live commentary on giving a little example of what it is and why I like it. So here you see an F-18 with a targeting pod, and you get a little bit of a close-up of this lens here. This lens is used to be able to see things. If you look in the MFD of the jet on the right-hand side, I'm trying to target something. When you do target it, you can point a laser at it. In this case, we're going to lock up a laser-guided Maverick. When it goes off the rails, what you'll see is we're locked onto a tank, and that laser-guided missile is going to follow the laser down to it and make a nice explosion for us to see. The purpose of this is to be able to identify your target, and here I'm able to zoom out and acquire another target for another pass. Of course, if you are a Navy pilot, your biggest thing to do is get back to the carrier. I didn't know how many people had seen something like this and what a modern flight sim looks like, but here's me coming back to the carrier after blowing some things up.
Wave off, wave off, wave off.
But in that video, what you get to see is the pilot's ability to use a tool to see beyond visual range. And that gives you the ability to identify friendly versus foe. And not just friendly versus foe, but if your guys are on the ground and they're getting blown up by a tank, and they're trying to call out that tank is their number one priority in life, and that if you don't get down there, something's going to happen, you could then focus in on that tank. And in even modern fighters, you could pass it off to other things, other assets that maybe are better equipped, or to your flight or whatever. And I think that's an important game mechanic, whether you're in the ground or up in the air. Being able to have some time and distance to stand off and look at something is a critical factor, especially for pilots and flying. So I want a targeting pod that gives us that ability, number one. And since Jay mentioned tearing it apart before I go to number two, we can start with that one if you want, Jay.
Not going to happen. Go ahead, Josh.
Okay.
If I could, okay.
Sorry, go ahead, Jolly.
Josh, I fully understand that air power is the key to all success in any warfare, period. But as an owner of a Nova tank, this is a horrendous idea.
I want to bring my big guns down to it.
So I'm going to show you my targeting pod right now. It's called the top button on my throttle. So what I'd use that with is to cycle through my next targets, and I look up on my little HUD display and it tells me what I have. So my question to Josh is, what's different in what we currently have now that I can cycle through targets on my screen than what you're asking for?
Yeah, so the targets on the screen, the only two options you have is to lock that target or cycle targets. Okay. So if you have a large number of targets, or if they're spread out over a little bit of an area, it's hard for you to distinguish the exact target you want. Now, locking an air-to-air target, you usually see a 2D map, and you can see where your radar is, and at least in current airframes. So you want to be able to pick out the target that is most critical or most important to you. Some of those targets are not immediately impacting the fight. Some of those targets are, and you want to be able to not just cycle between them, but identify it and verify if you're in close air support, in close proximity to other things. Yeah, you might be able to cycle to one of them, but that one that's specific and critical, I think, is important. Plus, it gives you the beyond visual range to identify that target and to plan what you want to use. So I think it's just an extra layer that could be built in really easy. I could see some lore saying, hey, look, modern fighters right now, I believe you can look around the ship and see outside. I could see in this century that this game is in, you could do that and zoom in omnidirectional if they wanted to. Little cameras embedded in the ship. It's not that hard to make happen, but I think it's a critical piece of gameplay that gives us extra ability.
Okay, we're talking about CIG, who can't give us a coordinate system, can't give us
You don't think they have any pilots? They don't have any military people on their staff either. So.
at all.
Hopes and dreams, Jay. Hopes and dreams.
So I mean, here's the thing: they don't even render ships at the distances that a targeting pod would be useful. So
they should,
but they don't, and that's not going to change. Not going to change. Everybody could go. Not for now. Here's the thing, unless the game plan for the PU is to completely redo everything they've done up until this point on a completely brand new engine, they're not going to be able to fix some of these issues. And so this is, a complete pie in the sky, unworkable idea. Would be nice in a perfect world that we could get something like that, but this game isn't ever going to have it, and it's not possible to put it in. And I feel awful about that, but at the end of the day, they like the cycle targets, and they do give you the ability to go backwards if you really want to. So you can cycle forwards and you can cycle backwards, and that's going to be your limitation on being able to select targets non-visually. And visually, you can, visually you could do what you need to do. But, you can manually target people and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, all of this is pie in the sky. They've repeatedly convinced us that they're not going to give us a simulation. They're going to give us an arcade game.
Now, I can see one of the things that Josh is trying to get to be very useful, and that would be the ability for me to put a laser or a marker on something that I can't lock, i.e., a building, a door of a building, something of that nature, and be able to to laze that point and be able to then have something fire in and hit that point. Now I think that is very effective.
That would be wonderful
and be very useful.
Wouldn't hold my breath.
Part of that targeting pod type system. If I understand, I got to remember I was a medic in the Air Force, so but what they have now with being able to cycle through the targets that you get, I agree that it would be better if I could pick up those targets further out, depending upon the scanning and sensor package that's available in my ship. Because if I've got an Eclipse, or I've got a Retaliator, or I've got a surveillance ship, I don't want to have to drop in at 5K in order to be able to pick up a ship. I want to be able to sit out there at a much greater distance based upon my scanning package and be able to pick that up. But having the ability to laze down and put a marker on something that is not emitting a signal of some point, and that's really what you're trying to do, is you've got something that's emitting a signal, therefore I'm able to lock onto that signal somehow and put it into my targeting system. If it's not emitting a signal, I still want to be able to drop a bomb on it.
So I would hold on. I would go one step different than that, and that is, I think a realistic solution to this would be somebody, walking in their door and going, hey, there's this cool thing called Link 16 that all the aircraft have. And we should implement that with parties, so that if one ship or one asset in the party can detect something, the position of that becomes known to everybody else in the party via this Link 16 system, or, communication system. That would be helpful. And then if they ever do give us a scanner for Marines, which I think we're going to talk about here in a minute, or handheld scanners that could, for us to project targets and things like that on the ground, that would be incorporated into that system. That's something you could make the argument to, because they don't have to recode anything.
I would,
Go ahead.
I just say they have mentioned being able to share targets on a party or with your wingman. They have mentioned that before many times. It's been a while, and we do have the targeting refactor coming up. So I think that's on their to-do list. I'm pretty sure.
Now, wasn't that the over the horizon targeting as well?
Possibly, yes.
Oh, okay.
And I mean, that's the whole point. If you're going to have a ship, the entire idea of that spaceship or aircraft is to give you time and distance so that you can stand off from the target, make decisions, and have an impact on what you're doing. And if you don't have the right tools to do that, if the ships don't render for that, then that's sort of immersion breaking in a way that is very obvious, and it seems almost intentional to make it into a knife fight. In modern warfare,
it's almost like that's what they're trying to do.
Yeah, in modern warfare, and in going back even to the 80s and even before, the entire idea was that you didn't get into a turning fight. The entire idea was that you detected the enemy and that you fired upon them, and they blew up and didn't know why, right? So we don't have to have something that crazy, but you should be able to use a ship as intended. Otherwise, it just feels very arcadey to me, and I'll be honest, I don't like it.
Arcadey is what we're going to get. And it, right or wrong, and how foolish it is, Chris Roberts is in love with World War II kind of fighter mechanics. And I think that he's going to gimp everything to what modern technology could give us, let alone what, 500 years in the future, 1,000 years in the future would give us.
I'm going to get tears in my eyes.
Well, go ahead, because better to get the crying out now than later, because it's coming. Am I that hard? I think we've beat the navigation with planned waypoints to death. Not going to happen, probably. It would be nice if they'll give us the ability to put one waypoint down for navigation by hand, but I just don't see that they're going to let us go in and plan routes of waypoints ourselves anytime in the future.
Yeah,
my only comment on that would be, it would just be nice so that you could plan to maneuver around air-to-ground radar, stay away from air-to-air threats, or how you maneuver through a canyon. That was why I was put it on there. But yeah, I agree. We're probably not going to, but we should.
Should, if you were building a simulator instead of an arcade game.
With a compass and a map, you could actually do it.
With a compass and a map, you could actually do it, but we're not going to get either. Well, we may get the compass if we're really lucky. We're not going to get the map. Mark my words.
Grid system.
Okay, Jolly, your two items, and I think one of them we've beaten to death.
But the other one is night vision. I mean, come on, guys. This is 1970s technology, light amplifying devices. Right now, on the civilian market, if you want to, you can get them, $13,000, color night vision goggles. Just so you know, the hues are all off. They look like crap. Basically, they look like reds and stuff like that. But if I can get that type of stuff right now, there's no reason in this game I can't all of a sudden switch on some sort of night vision when I'm coming into the dark side of the moon or a planet. It doesn't have to be great. Downgrade the vision. I absolutely agree. You want to make it to a little circle that I have to look through? Fine, I don't care. But give me some sort of night vision. It's kind of ridiculous, but we don't have it right now. I mean, this is even less of an ask that Josh had mentioned, the terrain system out there, which currently exists, allow you to see the terrain without seeing the terrain. So give me that. If you can't do that, for God's sake,
infrared
headlights, they're all horrendous. I have flashlights stronger right now than some of the headlights on my ships. So let's get the night vision thing out of the way.
Well, again, this is one of those times where
Thank you.
This is one of those times when the information's already there. The buildings, the ground, it's already being rendered in the dark. When I'm coming in, it's already being rendered. So if I flip a switch on my ship, why can't you take the outlines of those buildings that are already being rendered and just give me a little green ray trace around it? Just something. Just something.
Something.
I'm wearing a tactical helmet. Nobody in their right mind would call it a tactical helmet if I can't do a night vision view on it. It's just useless. Thank you.
Need something. Okay. Moving on to me and my wish list, which is not quite as far-fetched as Josh's, but probably more so than Jolly's. I think that my number one request is going to be an Acre-style communication system. And for any of you that aren't familiar, go on YouTube and search ARMA Acre, ACRE. This is a radio system that they put into a big multi-person combat game, and it is comparatively to what we have today in Star Citizen wonderful. And so I would strongly encourage people to think, we need this for large orgs. We need this for large group play or even mid-sized group play. And again, the fact that we don't have, that it doesn't appear as if they're building this type of comm system into the game is sad, and it's horrendous, and it's going to be a massive problem. Any comments on that idea?
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about combat, the 3 keys are move, shoot, and communicate. And tonight we've been talking about how you move, how you navigate, how you communicate is the other one of those things. And a targeting pod, gets into the shooting a little bit more. And so I think it's one of the 3 fundamental things that we must have: a way for flights to communicate with other flights to communicate with the ground guys to communicate with each other, command and control to communicate with them all. There's no doubt that this is 100% needed.
Mandatory. Either they do it or we're going to have to do it. Somebody's going to have to write it external to the game, and everybody's going to start using it. So, anybody else thoughts on this?
Yeah, you're right. The game currently, I use VoIP. I have it always active in case someone wants to talk locally, and locally it works fine, in my opinion. It's nothing wrong with it. But if you want to
somebody gets, let me put one asterisk on that, Jolly. It works great when they're at 49 meters, but when they're at 51 meters,
forget about it. No.
It's a cliff.
And the game does have the ability. I call Josh using the game. I bring up a screen, and there's Josh, and I'm calling him. He called. That's not communicating. Okay, that's socializing.
You're talking about hailing the target.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's not going to hack it. So what you're discussing is, especially when you're talking within your group of players you're playing with, you'll talk to each other, different type of command channels if necessary. It is needed, and I think hopefully sometime in the future they can add something like that to it.
Okay.
Get it together. No, I'm kidding.
And my next wish list item, which they've kind of committed to a certain extent, is a ship controls API, so that we can pull status of ships out of the game and munge that data and interact with the ships via an API to control functions.
You're talking about a touchscreen.
I'm talking about touch screens. I'm talking about a Helios or a Touch Buddy or something like that. We don't want to talk about the quote spyglass because you got to be careful what vendor you use, because they may be monitoring all your usage. But you definitely want something where you can do better controls, whether it be via a touch screen or via, Stream Decks or, home built cockpits. You need this API because there's just too many poorly thought out command interactions. I mean, it's something like 1,000 different things you combine today when you get down to all the different combinations.
Are you saying they should have someone with sim experience? You've said that before.
I'm sorry. Yeah, that seems like a common theme, that maybe somebody with sim experience or somebody with the real life flying experience, or someone with both.
I wish I had a dead horse icon to put up on there.
I know. It's almost like, you could probably just set up a Skype conversation with a couple of people, and they could probably give you good answers for how to solve these problems. And make it work for small groups and large groups. But no, we don't want to do that.
I think you said it well last show, Jay, in that if you understand the way modern things work in that space, I'm not saying copy it and it has to be perfect, but it gives you an idea of what's capable, why it's organized a certain way, and what makes sense to translate to what we're doing now.
Completely agree. Anybody else want to comment on my horribly bad selections? Going once, going twice. Okay, moving on to Turin. What are your two desires?
My first one is I would like to see a pick list style location list that I can set my navigation target for.
You mean like waypoints?
The current game map where I have to open it up, wheel down, scroll over, look at the fading symbols that are on it, spin the planet around, trying to pick the icon I need. Why the heck do I have to do that? You're already picking up all the locations that are in the system. I need to open up my navigation panel, go to Crusader, go to Daymar, go to Wolf Point Shelter, click on it, and it sets my route. I don't need. I know where I'm going. I just need to be able to pick lists from it. I don't need this map where I have to scroll around and look. I think the map is useful in some cases. Like we had a crew member that ran out of gas last night, and we had to go back and get him. Damn. And we wanted to, it was easy for us to go in the map and see where he was at and be able to pick it up and fly back to him. All this other stuff, it's just way too much time. It is a time sink, and half the time I'm having to reset my map, go back in, look around. So I want a pick list for my navigation.
And you can't always click on what you want to, especially if you've got two quantum locations next to each other. Sometimes it's really hard to click on the one you want.
Yeah, like six.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
I'm saying, or like six party members that are sitting at the same location. You got a beacon for every one of them.
Yeah, that's definitely a shack. I mean, you can't. I mean, when we all spawn in to do a mission with 30 people, and we're trying to pick out the bunker we're supposed to go to, everybody's pip is on Hurston. So it's glowing with 5,000 rads of radiation or something like that. You can't drill down fast enough to get to it. So that's my first one. The second one has to do with the fact that, my God, we are in the 30th century. All right. Can I get some transition lens cockpit glass, or just a damn good piece of, some shades, brother? I mean, something to keep the sun. Last night we came out at what was that, Arkel 1, Jay?
Yeah,
that
was
thing
awful.
Was like a 1,000-watt bulb, and I just gunned the Carrack, and I said, I think I'll pick this spaceship up sometime. It'll get so big that it'll cover the sun, and then I'll hit the brakes. And that's exactly what I did, because I couldn't see a damn thing. It was just too bright. It's just way too bright. And I've got a helmet on, for Christ's sake. I should be able to dim the light, and they should be able to, along with the night vision as well. I already covered that. It's the same technology. Just dim it for me. Just something to knock out the brightness of the sun.
Yeah. Here's the question, real quick. They've got like 100 pairs of glasses that you can buy in the game, and not a single one of them are as good as a crappy $10 pair of aviator sunglasses from Costco.
Make them look like whatever. I don't care. I mean, I got purple glowing ones right now, and it doesn't do me any good.
I mean, how many of these sci-fi movies do you see where they're pointed at the sun, and here we have what's the newest ship that came out
Prowler?
That everybody's all hyped about? The Prowler, right? With the little shields that kind of open back up. Yeah. Why not just have some whether it's a shade-based film that comes over, or shader that comes over the glass, or the same thing for like the night vision bit, or whatever. You could use a whole bunch of them.
Just make my character reach up and pull down some shades, man. I don't care. I mean,
well, Terraform brings up a good point, and it's actually an industry I work in. They have welding helmets that auto darken, and you can set them to it. So basically, the technology exists right now. In a $125 welding helmet, you can actually be smart enough to differentiate between a welding arc and the sun. So it will kick off for one, but not the other. And we can't have something like that in our helmet. That's
why I said that's my segment was transition lens cockpit glass, because it exists. Okay, that's my
real quick,
it's in your cheap car.
The star map is very useful for SA. It helps my SA out a lot. But your point about, hey, a list, why not? The ARC has that. Why can't we have that in the game? Right now, if I go to the ARC map, I can type in a destination and boop, it's right there. Why can't I do that in the game? So it's a good point.
I completely agree.
If it's already there.
Or even better yet, let us punch in a coordinate, a hexadecimal coordinate.
I think we have all the solutions here. We should just take over CIG.
Well, I don't know about that. Because I don't know that I want that headache. But it sure would be nice if CIG would actually talk to some people.
It's going to be the brain trust.
Okay.
The wide crowd.
The wide crowd, yeah.
Moving on to Nom. Nom's got two interesting ones.
Compared to some of the things they're talking about, they're relatively small, but I think they come to quality of life, just making life a little easier. it's they seem to like the idea of buttons just cycling through things, which for some things work good enough for like switching between targets. But if you got two size 2 weapons, which could be a P4 and a P6 on your back, tapping 2 cycles between them, and you may not remember which one's coming up next in a round robin fashion. And same thing goes for multi tools and the little lights, the glow
Chem lights.
Yeah, and
the
the
chem
4
lights that don't
cycles
work
between
as
those.
well as
Right.
cheap party kit lights from
Yeah,
Party City.
Yeah. Somebody got a rave going on, but but every other game, Arc or whatever, you have a number assigned to a specific weapon. 2 should be 2 and 3. 1 should be primary, 1 should be secondary. It doesn't matter what's in the slot, and you should be able to. Each item on you should have a corresponding 1 button click. Getting back to what Turin was saying about having to go into the star map, they're way too in love with having the whole 3D interface to mess with. So maybe their solution is no, you have to open up the pit system, the hold down F and right click, and then choose the weapon, which you've hot buttoned on the first wheel. That's at a minimum, that's 3 clicks right there just to choose a damn weapon, which is silly. And
especially when you're getting shot at.
Yeah. And it obscures your vision while you're doing it. It's not a solution. The solution is to have a number correspond to the weapon, period.
Right.
Completely agree.
And the other one is I like to do the box missions a lot. I like loading up a Pisces with a bunch of box missions on all the moons around one location, go to the moons around another planet. Why can't you just sort all those 24 box missions by proximity to the pickup point? I mean, you got combat missions. They'll tell you how many kilometers away the destination is. They can do that for the box missions.
I agree completely. It's ridiculous.
Those would be pretty simple fixes, to be honest.
Exactly. They're small things, but it would make life a lot easier.
You mean that would be more important than eating and drinking?
Oh, never.
Definitely not.
Whoa, way to cycle back.
Shots fired. CIG is down.
Only if you could navigate back to it.
Exactly. Yeah. Or I don't know.
What if you have a windstorm, though? Oh,
maybe one of the 10,000 vending machines could give us some food and water. Okay. Hendrosa, you've got some interesting ones here that I have no clue what this actually means, so I'm going to turn it over to you. What are your 2 ideas?
All right, so the first item would be like a FOD radar. Pretty much, if you go back to a good example of this would be like the Armageddon movie. You're out there, you're out in an asteroid field or something like that. Something that could highlight anything else that's moving, within a given distance, just to where you're on the outline. Because, we were talking about the sun being able to blind you. You get the shaders that aren't just right. And next thing you know, you roll up on an asteroid and you're like, oh, crap, here it comes. And there's nothing that you can do. It doesn't need to be real big, but just give you like a small little outline, like, oh, here it is. You don't even have to have distance, but something that outlines it. I mean, it's hard enough for us to track a ship out there once we have it targeted, and you expect us to see asteroids on the far or the dark side of the sun or the dark side of that asteroid. So something that could outline FOD out there would be great. And it kind of ties almost right in. What's that? Oh,
for collision avoidance.
Right, like collision avoidance, exactly.
Yeah.
And it also kind of ties right in with my second one, which is kind of like terrain following. When we get down there, we're in a storm or something like that. Cool. Maybe we want to utilize a storm to mask our signature. We can already mask our signature, but once we get down there, give them a non-visual. Anybody who's following you or whatever. But, I still want to see in that storm. Sure, they might be able to do it as well, but I don't want to slam into the terrain doing it. So if I'm going to fly in a storm, whether it's a sandstorm, a winter storm, fog, whatever.
Snowstorm.
Yeah, exactly. Is kind of goes right back to what I was talking about, is lace over. And again, another good movie to reference this would be like the first... oh God, what movie was that? X-Men, the first X-Men movie, when Storm laid the fog over and the ship kind of had that grid and you could see, the Statue of Liberty, you could see, the island, something like that to where the fog wasn't an issue.
If we can do it in CIG today, they should be able to do it at CIG.
At CIG, right? See? We're making it easy
CGI
for
is
them.
what I meant, but there we go. Okay, and number 2. I think we've covered this.
Well, yeah, but I want to point out, somebody just pointed out there, ShepCap, an AGL rate altitude versus MSL. God, yes, is he right?
Yes.
Please.
Yes.
Please.
Yes. Something. Or at least an AGL at where you're going, so you know how high it is or how low it is below sea level. That would be nice. But okay.
Again,
I think
modern navigational ability.
Hendrosa, is there anything else you want to add to terrain, radar / grid that we have not beaten to death at this point?
No, we'll leave it up there for Josh to work on getting that horse up there, and we just always see that image
Just
and
slam into it.
Yep.
So before we go any further, guys, we've got some viewer questions. If you have features that you would like to see in Star Citizen and you want us to give our comments about, at ChapCap and let him get them. We've got a few to go over. If you got regular questions, we're going to be opening up to that momentarily as soon as we get done with this segment. And then I'll give you some things to go check out and do. So here we go. First question from ChapCap that ChapCap sent to us is Buster the Destroyer entertainment gameplay, festival-ready vehicles, i.e. a line of ships that fold out into stages with accompanying runabouts that allow for front-of-house audio and lighting mixing setups.
What, like a mobile dance floor?
Yes, that's what he's asking.
Burning Man in space.
Burning Man in space, yes. I've got my comments about this. Does anyone else want to start before I light this one on fire?
Well,
Burn it down, Jay. Burn it.
Kill it with fire.
I like to see what the BMM is going to give us. I like to see what the I've seen some pictures where it's going to be laid out. So recent vids came out from CIG, and they talked about the use of cargo space as shops and stuff like that. So using, I'm not to say for a rave, but using ship space for things other than what we may initially think they're for is a possibility.
Oh, and I'm reading the chat, and I didn't know this, and I apologize profusely, but Buster is a she. Either way, still doesn't change the idea that it is a horrendously bad idea. Don't say that around CIG. They might actually do it because they'll think it's good. Focus on core gameplay.
All of our ideas.
Well, I mean,
crap CIG, they are terrible. Don't follow them.
But they already have some. I mean, they have luxury ships. I mean, with things that are in it. I mean, who doesn't want that pool table on the 600i to actually work?
I don't. I want them to rip it out and give me something useful with that space.
It's a luxury ship.
It's for Marines.
They've got one in the stinking Carrack too. It's just a waste of space. You can't do anything with it, and I wouldn't want to if you could. It'd be one thing if you gave me some ability to stream video to a big screen TV, and we all could sit around while we're in quantum for 45 minutes crossing a single system to be able to, watch a YouTube video or a movie together. But
they introduced food and water here, Jay. We're going to have another little entertainment, thing. We're going to have, rest. We're going to have a whole bunch of exercise.
Well, that's what I was
going to the whole night.
I was going to say that, Hendrosa. Why would we want to watch a movie? Jay doesn't want any popcorn to go along with the movie, so I don't know.
At least it would be something to do. Let's be honest. Sometimes we're in these quantums, even in the Carrack, and it feels like 20 minutes to go between place A and place B.
That's because you don't upgrade the quantum drive, my friend. That's
true. I'm guilty of that. I run the stock quantum drive.
Remember, 2018.
But no, I think that
we learned about utilizing the rock, paper, scissors. So we're going to have something to kill time here shortly.
No, I think she's got to. I think I'm not sure it's to the extreme that she's talking about, but having a multi-variety experience is what Star Citizen is all about in the end. And so, having things that you can do that aren't a militaristic or a commerce type Ben, it's not bad. I mean,
Yeah.
I want my Phoenix Emerald hot tub to fill up. I mean, why not? So
Sure. Yeah,
The-
you could play
the
Sims
demand-
Online next too.
The demand for widows got to come from somewhere.
If you say so.
If the game has a customer base, okay, the game has a customer base to these commercial flights. The game may have an NPC customer base to attend events. Oh, maybe there's a future in there.
yeah,
Maybe
You're
there
welcome.
is.
the 890 is all about entertainment.
I'd argue with you on that one.
No, I know,
Okay.
Josh. I know you wanted the command and control stealth ship or whatever it is. Like, we've had this conversation many times.
Okay, moving on to the next one. And Leaf, our buddy Leaf, thank you for watching Leaf. It's a simple question. Pets.
Yes.
He just got a
No.
dog,
I know it is. I
Hey.
know that's why he's talking about this.
You're gonna go put a
They
leash on his
promised
face.
that
that-
for a
So-
while.
we
Hold
can't-
on one second. That and the fact that his Facebook feed is always either him
Dogs.
snowboarding or pictures of stupid dogs.
I'll take responsibility for the
Literally.
snowboarding. That was my fault.
But Turing, what's your opinion of pets?
Well, I mean, if we can't even feed ourselves, how are we going to feed our pets?
There you go.
I mean, I don't want to walk on my ship and walk into something on my ship. You know what I'm saying? So,
I'm tracking all over the place.
and I think CIG would go there.
Yes, they would.
I think
You're not
CIG's going to
looking
go
forward
there.
to the
Or listen to your pet parakeet, go off in the ship while I'm trying to fly on a 2-hour mission or something like that. No, I think if it provides perhaps some sort of function, military working dog function, things of that nature, or something like that. But as a nice to have, maybe. I
How
don't
about
know.
we
like
fix the
Flair.
30
Like
Ks
Flair.
before we do
People
that?
Want one around their ship just for the having it. People would do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah,
Sure.
maybe.
They might want teddy bears too. You know what? In turn, you're kind of right. I hate to bring up the game about dinosaurs again, but the pets they have there in terms of some will keep you warm when it's cold. Some will carry additional items you can't carry. Some can give warnings, whatever the case may be. If the pet in the game has a function in the game, I think it would go over extremely well.
Yeah.
If it's just a cute furry thing I get to have,
It poops
it's
everywhere.
like having crap in my hanger. I got a hanger filled with crap. I don't care. It's like it doesn't help my gameplay. So having a little dogo is not gonna have my gameplay either. But if it has a function, yeah, I think it'd be a great idea.
Mhm.
So, Hendrosa, what's your vote on pets? Yay or nay?
I have to agree with Turn on that one. If it's for in-game protection or something like that, or enforcement, absolutely. But just to have one, or and Jolly made a good point as well. But we already got spacesuits to do that. I think we're good. No pets.
No more AI. The AI is already a nightmare and slows my computer down too much. Scientifico asks, a dedicated covert reconnaissance ship, something that emulates the role of the current day Global Hawk or U-2.
I'd be all for it.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it wouldn't be highest on my priority, but that's kind of cool.
An
Definitely
expanded
some type
Terrapin
of-
or something.
Terrapin's
Yeah.
the closest we'd have.
Yeah, Terrapin,
Yeah.
I think it's probably the closest you have
How
right
about-
now.
yeah.
But it's not
Full
stealthy.
featured.
No
And
weapons.
it's not fast.
Stealth, fast. Again, no weapons. Yeah, I'd be a pretty neat little
Yeah.
ship.
Yeah.
Wouldn't-
I think that
Like
the
would
a
work.
ability to
350R with-
communicate with other ships and pass them information, live feeds, that kind of stuff, on where targets are at. I'd go for that. That's a pretty good idea.
Yeah, I mean, you sort of have some things already: the Terrapin, the Herald, the Star. I mean, stuff like that are not quite like this, but they're going that way. So yeah, I could see that. That'd be good. Be useful.
You
Well,
would definitely
I'd
need the
buy-
ability to enter, an orbit to utilize it. I mean, if not, it's going to be more, of a manual thing. You better hope you better hope you got that crew that knows what to do, and it's going to get kind of tedious. But if it's a one-man ship, absolutely, that you can
Isn't
get out
this-
and go do it.
Isn't the Sentinel supposed to have some extra scanning ability? I thought.
It's an E-war ship. I think that's more
Okay.
offensive
Okay.
than it was
Jamming more
yeah,
than
it's more jamming.
scanning.
Yeah, I think Wild Weasel on steroids kind of thing.
Okay.
Yep.
I have one more thing that if I had had a third option, I would have put in here, and that is a really simple request. CIG, please, for the love of God, put a drop shadow around all HUD elements.
Yeah.
Please, for the love of God, put a drop shadow around all HUD elements. You're killing us.
Killing me.
White HUD.
Can we get custom colors?
Oh.
Custom colors?
I don't care about that. Just give me a drop
outline.
shadow.
Yep.
You don't like flying into Lyria in daytime and not being able to see a damn thing on the ground?
No, I don't. But drop shadow. All I'm asking for is put a little black outline around everything, and we'll be good to go. If it's really dark, you'll have the bright characters, the greens, the blues, the whatevers, the reds. And if it's a really bright spot, you'll have the black that outlines and makes it where you could actually read and see what's going on. I mean, for crying out loud, how hard is it? I mean, you guys come up with all this cool stuff. Can you not just go spend 10 minutes going in and going, add drop shadow, add drop shadow, add drop shadow? Oh, look, we fixed this problem. Mother bleepy, bleepy, bleepy. Okay, moving on to Raid is asking solution to the bunching up of player pips in game to see them more clearly.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know that you're going to get around that.
That's
I think
a
you're
tough
stuck
one,
with
Raid.
that.
I feel your pain, man. Especially on those big ops and stuff. But any solution that comes up with that, you run the risk of dropping people off, and as you start, getting separated, and I don't know if it's going to work in the end. I don't know.
Just nothing but problems.
If you're on the map, you can go to the cluster, zoom in as best you can, select the specific individual you want to try to come to, set a course to that individual. That's about the best we can do right now. And when it comes time to align, sure enough, I'm aligning. Whether I'm aligning
But are
to the
you
guy I
aligning
selected or not, I have no idea.
I don't know.
Again, need the ability to have a drop-down list to select your quantum instead of trying to align in game and having 1,000 pips. You just need the ability to have a pull-down list, select where you want to go and go.
I've already maybe the solution is the drop-down list for the locations, but I could use my member list, which they already give me, and with a right-click, set quantum location.
Agree, that would be just as good.
Little bits. They've got all the stuff there. About having to drill down on my map to go see something. I don't know.
It's almost like the devs only play with 3 or 4 other players and never try to play as a big group. I'm just saying, it seems kind of coincidence that the things that break are the things that require you to work as a big group. Maybe their playtest isn't designed correctly.
No, you're right. Every time I've seen a Citizen demo, I've had maybe 4 or 5 players in there. That's about it.
It's almost like they don't think that a large chunk of their players are going to play in big groups. Again, they've got my phone number. They've got Jolly's phone number. We'd be happy to help them for free with this issue. So, Terrafon asks, what about the ability to go hunting for various fauna? Do a Savari big game, some big game, make it into food or sell it. I fully expect that there are going to be creepy crawlies trying to kill me in caves. So I think that's going to come. What do you think, Jolly?
Yeah, I think the idea of edible fauna, which you turn to food, that's not bad. And that goes back to getting to food again, craftable food. In other words, right now, I can only get food from what I buy from vendors. What if in the botanist role or the farmer role, whatever the case would be, I grow food, that's one thing, but I can also take the food and modify it. So as Noam was pointing out, this food will give you a boost for that and the other thing. What if I give you the ability or give players the ability, because it's not going to be me, to craft in some manner through science and research to make a superfood? Hey, this munchie right here will last you 24 hours, not 10, 24 hours. Something like that will add to gameplay if they open that type of stuff open.
Yep.
So, Nom, what do you think about this?
I'm all for it. It's I fully hunting gameplay is something I would really get into. Just the whole aspect of doing that, and just we've been needing critters in general in the game for a long time, and I just think that'll give a lot. It'll just make the whole world, even if you're not doing anything with them, hunting them, them just being there is going to be. It's going to add to the lived-in feel of the universe when you're out on the surface of a planet, instead of just being a barren landscape with a few trees.
I'm going to say this right now, that in the snow mountains with the wind blowing, if something like a bear or a Yeti came rolling out of there and attacked us on the ground, it would be poor Lacoste would be pissing his pants. So
It's going to change how it will change how people will operate on the ground. They'll be definitely have to post a watch to look out for stuff like that.
Exactly.
Just don't let him in the armistice zone. That's the only thing I asked for.
Yeah, of course.
Pull my gun out.
You want your gun to work if they come after you. I get that. Hendrosa?
Yes.
What are your thoughts on this?
It's I'm really looking forward to that portion of the gameplay. I think it's definitely going to add a whole different aspect that we're just not familiar with right now. But as long as they kind of incorporate it to where they can be utilized in a way, which they are, from watching the Inside StarCitizens, that's what they've been talking about. So I think it's good.
I'm looking forward to the creatures they have planned for caves.
They add a little negative in terms of that's additional function NPC running around, so it'll be a little bit drag on what you're looking for, but it's no worse than when I'm walking through a port with a bunch of NPCs standing on tables, or walking around, or getting the damn NPC sitting in front of a kiosk. Get the hell out! You're not buying anything. Get your ass out of there. You can go buy my stuff.
They push you out of the way.
The hell out of me.
How about the 7 that stand in front of the door and don't go anywhere, so you can't get by?
You can't get into the store to begin with, let alone, or they don't know how to press the open button on the door, and so they all pile up there. You come around and open it, and they all rush through each other.
I'm with it, Dresser. I think it'd be pretty cool ad. I really
I agree. It would be nice. Okay, guys, we're going to open it up to questions out there. Any questions, comments, or anything you want us to talk about real quick, we'll spend a few minutes. While we do that, and I wait for those to roll in, and I am keeping an eye on here, I'm going to introduce everybody and kind of give you their background real quick. And we've got Jolly here. Jolly is the executive officer of Atlas Defense Industries, and has some real-world pilot experience. We won't get into all the details there because I don't want to out him on a stream, but is a really good resource. And he's kind of my partner in crime, helped me start this, and really enjoy having him on. And even though we got 6 on today, I love this experience and love having Jolly here. With him, my other partner in crime is Turing, who's also from the Air Force but didn't fly. He made sure people didn't get sick.
Flew in the back of the plane.
Sure, but not in the front.
No.
So, but he made sure that people didn't get sick. And definitely is our resident health expert when we have to talk about COVID and stuff. Also tonight is Josh. Josh is with us, and he is our sim pilot and iRacing expertise. Do you have your YouTube channel up and running yet, Josh, that we can promote?
I don't, but it'll be YouTube. It'll be Cali Joshua when I get 100 followers, but I'll get it up and we can promote it on one of these shows coming forward.
Sounds good. But he's going to be working on some flight profiles and tactics on YouTube here in the coming months. And then we have Namidius, who is our senior director over our contracting divisions. And Nam, do you have any social media or anything you want to promote or anything
Not
about
at the moment,
ADI?
no. Nope.
Okay. And then we got Hendrosa, who's our senior director at ADI over our commerce teams or product teams, however we want to call those today. And I know he's got a stream that he wants to promote. So go ahead and tell us what you're doing on Twitch, Hendrosa, and promote your channel.
So yeah, I'm one of the streamers for Atlas Defense Industries. I stream StarCitizen. It's pretty much my main focus right now. Retired Air Force, so that's pretty much all I'm doing on a day-to-day basis, or at least 3 times a week, 2 different streams out of those days. But yeah, just pretty much just trying to keep StarCitizen running for you guys. And I guess I'll grab the link here for you. Since I don't have it readily available. There you go.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Let's say I had it.
That's true. I had the other one actually available. Jay was talking about YouTube with Josh. I was like, oh crap, Jay's gonna want my YouTube link. Let me go in and get the YouTube link. And that's the one I had ready.
I know your YouTube link will be on your Twitch profile when it's ready. So And I don't see any other questions, so I'm just going to go around the room and get final comments. Hendrosa, any final comments for our viewers before we sign off for tonight?
No, you know what? Thank you guys so much for being here. Jay, thanks for the invite, to be on HangarReady and the rest of you guys. I really appreciate it. Already starting to get a couple follows on there, so thank you guys for doing that. And hopefully you guys are staying safe, and hopefully you guys will be on hanging out on the next HangarReady.
Okay. Noam, anything that you'd like to add before we close out the show?
Just like what we talked about there, looking forward to 3.9 being a lot more stable than it is right now. I mean, we didn't talk much about that, but they've been going through a lot of mess this past week with getting long-term persistence to actually work right. But it's a pain point they just got to get through. I know some people are saying, why don't they just roll it back? But that doesn't accomplish anything in the end. So
I will just say 1 step forward and 8 steps back some days.
Yep.
So Jaglin, the producer here, would like to comment that your cloth background she is in love with and wants you to Discord her the purchase link. So
I will.
Definitely wants to see where she can get some of those for curtains or something. Josh, anything that you would like to add before we close out the show?
Yeah, absolutely. So part of this will have to do with revealing the ship for the day.
Yay!
And I have to
almost got away without you doing that.
I know. I was going to sneak it in. I got to believe that this ship has some of the basic features that we talked about. I really hope that CIG will engage us either in Spectrum or a phone call or somehow and talk about these things. I think the dream for me started with Star Wars as a kid, and I want to live those things out and enjoy them. And I just don't want it to be quite so arcadey. I guess that's how I'll end it.
Yeah, I say the same thing about DCS all the time. I don't want it to be so arcadey. Moving on. Shots fired. Shots fired. Shots fired. Sorry, I have to get that, that dig in there. The DCS is just, overhyped arcade game. But Turing, anything that you'd like to add before we close?
I would say that there are a lot of new features that rolled out this time. It's a bit of a dumpster fire at times. Stick with it. Stay away from some of the things that you're obviously going to lose credits doing, i.e., big cargo runs, things of that nature. Stick to the basic mechanics such as boxes and stuff of that nature, and just drink in the visuals and drink in the other new cool features that they have, because it is a big work in progress. They've come a long way in the last year and a half, 2 years. They're really kind of working hard to get things to where they need to be, and it's still being tested. But stick with it, even when the dumpster fire erupts.
Yep. And Turing, we've had
one last thing: keep washing your dang hands.
Yes. Wash your hands. Even though we're having problems, we're still getting good. We had a 2.5 hour, almost 3 hour stream the other night with no real until the end.
We did, and Jolly left before we encountered our problem, which was landing on a pad and then it completely just glitching out for all three of us at the exact same moment. I would say stay away from the Pisces sometimes, but and the ghost glitch is something that is brand new. I haven't seen that in any of the other patches where you just suddenly become a specter and you're able to move through and out. I haven't seen that before, but it's got to be just, as they bring things in, just like we said, and we were all discussing this beforehand, before we sat down for the show, as things roll in, you really don't know what you're going to break until you actually implement it. So there's a lot of things that they put out there that they don't really know, and it is testing. So it's good.
Okay. And then finally, last but definitely not least, Jolly, any thoughts?
Yeah, I know it sounds like we're slamming RSI and CI a lot tonight. We're not. All of us in this broadcast, all 6 of us, have spent thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dollars supporting the game because we believe in it. And I still spend money because I believe in the game. I believe what Chris Roberts has a vision of. So do continue to support CI and RSI. The game gets better every time. I know glitches reappear, but also keep in mind, each and every one of us at this stage of the game, we're testers. We're not players. We're testers. And so do give your reports. Do help the devs improve the game itself. If they don't know what's going on and you can't give them some sort of proof and evidence, it's just tough for them to make corrections and make the game become what all of us want to become eventually. Second thing would be every 6 months I shave this puppy off. It's time for it to go. I was going to wait till the con, but I'm taking this off tonight.
So next show you will be a little less handlebar mustache, right?
It'll be something. I don't know what yet, but
don't know what yet, but it'll be something. Unfortunately, CitizenCon got canceled, and we didn't talk about that tonight, but we will. So, guys, we're going to be back. It looks like COVID is starting to fade, and we're not getting quite as many views. So we're going to probably go back to a once a month schedule. So we're going to be doing something in the second half of June. Will be our next episode. Obviously, check us out on Facebook and check us out here on Twitch. And we have a Discord. It's really easy. Discord.HangarReady.com. Come join us. You can chat with us. You can give us show ideas and thoughts. We're also going to be doing some streaming out of there as well over the course of the next little bit. And so just keep me in the loop and come join us on Discord. But we're gonna be doing some studio updates here at the HangarReady Studios over the next 6 weeks, and I think you're gonna be in for a really good surprise when we restart back up in the second half of June. So stay safe, have a lot of fun. I'm gonna be on the ADI Mumble server. I'm always on the HangarReady, but I'll be on after this show in about 15 minutes or so for a few minutes. And I suspect some of the others are going to be here as well. It's we're looking forward to talking to you. So if you have any questions, if you want to know how to do streaming, if you want to know how to do something crazy like this talk show, I'm always happy to answer questions. And again, I want to thank all of my co-hosts, Jolly, Turin, Josh, Numidius, and especially Hendrosa. Thank you guys for being with us, and I hope some of you will come back and help me co-host in June. Have a great, safe week. Stay safe. Wash your hands, and practice a little bit of social distancing outside. Sunlight, the best thing you can be doing right now. So, everyone, take it easy and have fun. Signing off, and we'll see you in about 5 weeks or so.
all right.
Bye.
Bye.
See ya.